Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We're grateful we made it. Sorry for keeping you waiting. The roads are a different breed. Hare Krishna. Jai Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Vallabha, Jaya Girivaradhare, Jaya Girivaradhare. Yashodanandana, Jaya Brajajana Ranjana. Jaya Yashodanandana, Jaya Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachare, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Vallabha, Jaya Girivaradhare, Jaya Girivaradhare. Yashodanandana, Jaya Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachare, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe. Jaya Jagannatha Jagannatha Baladeva Jaya Subhadra. Nitai Go Haribo, 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 Gaura Haribo. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Shila Prabhupada. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jai Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Premanande. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We'll be continuing our reading of the Bhagavad Gita as it is. The chapter is entitled The Opulence of the Absolute, text 12 and 13. Arjuna uvacha param brahma param dhamma pavitram paramam bhavan Purusham Shashwatam Divyam Adidevam Ajam Vibhum Aho Sivam Rishaya Save Tvam Devarshi Naradastata Asito Devalo Vyasa Swayam Chaiva Bravishime. Please repeat. Arjuna Uvacha. Arjuna said, Param, Supreme, Brahma, Truth, Param, Supreme, Dham, Sustenance, Pavitram, Pure, Paramam, Supreme, Bhavan, You, Purusham, Personality, Shashwatam, Original, Divyam, Transcendental, Adidevam, the Original Lord, Rishaya, did I miss something? Ajam, Unborn, Vibhum, Greatest, Ahu, Say, Tvam, of You, Rishaya, Sages, Sarve, all, Devarishi, the sage among the demigods, Naradaha, Narad, Tata, also, Asitaha, Asita, Devala, Devala, Vyasaha, Vyas, Swayam, personally, Cha, also, Eva, certainly, Bravisi, you are explaining me unto me. Translation and purports by His Divine Grace, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Ki. Arjuna said, you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the ultimate abode, the purest, the absolute truth. You are the eternal, transcendental, original person, the unborn, the greatest. All the great sages such as Narada, Asita, Devala, and Vyas confirm this truth about you. And now you yourself are declaring it to me. In these two verses, the Supreme Lord gives a chance to the modern philosopher. For here it is clear that the Supreme is different from the individual soul. Arjuna, after hearing the essential 4 verses of Bhagavad Gita in this chapter, became completely free from all doubts and accepted Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He at once boldly declares, you are Param Brahma, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And previously, Krishna stated that he is the originator of everything and everyone. Every demigod and every human being is dependent on him. Men and demigods, out of ignorance, think that they are absolute and independent of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That ignorance is removed perfectly by the discharge of devotional service. This has already been explained in the previous verse by the Lord. Now, by His grace, Arjuna is accepting Him as the Supreme Truth in concordance with the Vedic injunction. It is not that because Krishna is Arjuna's intimate friend, Arjuna is flattering him by calling him the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Absolute Truth. Whatever Arjuna says in these two verses is confirmed by Vedic truth. Vedic injunctions affirm that only one who takes to devotional service to the Supreme Lord can understand him, whereas others cannot. Each and every word of this verse spoken by Arjuna is confirmed by Vedic injunction. In the Kena Upanishad, it is stated that the Supreme Brahman is the rest of everything. And Krishna has already explained that everything is resting on him. The Mundaka Upanishad confirms that the Supreme Lord, in whom everything is resting, can be realized only by those who engage constantly in thinking of him. This constant thinking of Krishna is smaranam, one of the methods of devotional service. It is only by devotional service to Krishna that one can understand his position and get rid of this material body. In the Vedas, the Supreme Lord is accepted as the purest of the pure. One who understands that Krishna is the purest of the pure can become purified from all sinful activities. One cannot be disinfected from sinful activities unless he surrenders unto the Supreme Lord. Arjuna's acceptance of Krishna as the Supreme Pure complies with the injunctions of Vedic literature. This is also confirmed by great personalities, of whom Narada is the chief. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and one should always meditate upon him and enjoy one's transcendental relationship with him. He is the supreme existence. He is free from bodily needs, birth and death. Not only does Arjuna confirm this, but all the Vedic literatures, the Puranas and histories. In all Vedic literatures, Krishna is thus described. And the Supreme Lord himself also says in the 4th chapter, "Although I am unborn, I appear on this earth to establish religious principles." He is the supreme origin. He has no cause, for he is the cause of all causes, and everything is emanating from him. This perfect knowledge can be had by the grace of the Supreme Lord. Here Arjuna expresses himself through the grace of Krishna. If we want to understand Bhagavad Gita, we should accept the statements in these two verses. This is called the Parampara system, acceptance of the disciplic succession. Unless one is in the disciplic succession, he cannot understand Bhagavad Gita. It is not possible by so-called academic education. Unfortunately, those proud of their academic education, despite so much evidence in Vedic literatures, stick to their obstinate conviction that Krishna is an ordinary person. Srila Prabhupada ki. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshware Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha Patitanam Pavenebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langaite girim yad kripa tamaham bande Shri Guru dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So I'm very happy to be back in Singapore amongst all you wonderful Vaishnavas. I'd like to thank His Grace Devarakinandan Prabhu for arranging that Krishna consciousness is going on, that we can also come, Premananda Krishna Prabhu, and all of you for changing this Singapore. Devotees were asking me in Malaysia, so Maharaj, you're going to Singapore? Yes. So will you go dressed like this? I said, yes, I don't have any other clothes. They say, but Maharaj, they don't allow devotees to come. I said, no, Singapore has changed. The devotees, by their chanting of Harinam, by their sadachar, naturally this country has brilliant systems, including the intelligence system. They have studied the devotees thoroughly, and definitely they've seen that the devotees are an asset to this country, that they are not a threat to the government. And it seems to me that whatever super strictures were there may not be as applicable. Of course, the jiva can always speculate. This is probably my speculation. But we came initially before. Actually, I didn't think about it. And when I came last week, I came like that. All you have to deal with some impersonal systems, sometimes advantages. You just scan the passport and look at the camera. And that's it. Today we drove in and you've already filled in a form. They let us in, they didn't bother about our fashion. So we credit it to the work of all the devotees who have been here, who know different time. There must have been really tough times before for the devotees. So grateful that we are able to come and have some association and speak something on the Bhagavad Gita. This is the 10th chapter. It's part of the tasty sandwich of the Bhagavad Gita. It is said of the 6, the nice slice of bread, and in the middle you put the important nectar. And that nectar is devotional service. We've just gone through the Chatusloki of the Bhagavad Gita, wherein Arjuna becomes privy to the knowledge of who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, being the source of the material and spiritual. Krishna says of his devotees, he gives them the knowledge by which they can come to him. So there we see that knowledge leads to devotion. And then we hear that no, if there's no knowledge, Tesham nityabhiyuktanam aham agyana jam tamaha nasayam atma bhavasto gyana dipena bhashuta. There may be ignorance in the heart. No knowledge, transcendental knowledge especially, is very rare. Krishna says, I, dwelling in the heart, gyana dipena, I give enlightenment, I give knowledge, and I dispel the darkness of ignorance from the heart. So we see that even there's no knowledge, that the Lord, he assists and gives devotion to the devotee. He'll give how to come to me. If you don't get it, then he will dispel the ignorance in the heart, still to allow us into the house of devotion. Now that Arjuna has heard, what is his response? sometimes we talk to one another, and people will say, yeah, I hear you. I hear you. When someone says, I hear you, generally it means like you're saying something that's not really touching my heart so much, but I hear you, and you have the right to speak your mind. This happened to our Dhritarashtra. Vidura was preaching to him. Aren't you embarrassed? Your whole life was dedicated to removing these Pandavas, robbing them of their kingdom. You were supposed to protect them as their uncle, but you are conspiring with your son to get rid of them. Now, destiny has removed them through this war, which was unnecessary. But even after that, you have come back and now you are living in the house of Yudhisthira, and you are accepting the meals, and you are not embarrassed. It's time for you to get out of here. Previously, Dhritarashtra was warned about Duryodhana, and he heard Vyas, he had different personalities speak this. He was that kind of hearing. Yeah, I hear you, but your words, they don't touch my heart. Therefore, I will not act on them. So the way of hearing is that there must be a submissive heart. We must be willing to hear. If I think that the teacher is teaching something, but I know better, it becomes just like yada, 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 yada. They're saying something, but it does not enter the heart because there is no receptive heart. Now, Arjuna has gone through that stage where he also had his opinions about who Krishna was and what was to be done to deal with this calamity which was looming at Kurukshetra. But he reached a dead end, fortunately for him. And when he was bewildered as to what is to be done, then Shishyasteham sadimam tvam prapanam. Now I am surrendered, now I am a disciple. You instruct me, Krishna. And so Krishna has been going through that exercise. In his all-inclusive capacity, Krishna is explaining every type of process for transcendence. Kama Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga. And now Krishna is entering where he will speak about his opulences. Now Srila Prabhupada begins the purport by saying, in these two verses, the Supreme Lord gives a chance to the modern philosopher. I think there was another I read which said it's giving a chance to the Mayavadi. There's two. This one says Mayavadi. Anyway, this is the first line that Prabhupada is recognizing that the mercy that is packed in these slokas. The modern philosopher or the Mayavadi means someone who is depending heavily on their own intellect. They are well educated. They are certified by the best universities. And so they have confidence in their ability to comprehend reality. I mean, if you have been certified, especially PhD, you have a right to feel confident somewhat, because it's not easy to come to that level. But it is just a slither of material knowledge of the material reality. You become specialized in a particular field. But because you have been certified by a whole institution with a history of so many scholars, there's a feeling that now I am in the know. And so whenever any subject comes to the ear of one who's materially educated, if they are without this submissive culture of devotion, they feel that they can be able to also shed some light on the subject. Now, the issue of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the ultimate abode, the purest, the absolute truth. Krishna is a Dokshaja, means he's beyond the range of our material perception. We cannot really stretch our minds into that realm, lest we drag some mud into the spiritual platform, Srila Bhakti Sarvagya says. So, instead of speculating about who Krishna is, here, in no uncertain terms, the hearer of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna, is stating directly the identity of Krishna, the position of Krishna. That if one would just simply accept these two verses, they will remove all their doubts, reservations, or end their speculations on the position of Krishna, the speaker of Bhagavad Gita. That's why Srila Prabhupada would say these books are of a different nature. That if one hears even one shloka, he would say, sometimes say one word, his life can be changed. So now try to consider how many verses are there in the scriptures. The scriptures are vast. Many, many mantras, beautiful in different ways describing reality, material and spiritual. But if you were asked not to hear any other verse your whole life, and you are given just these two verses, can you see how much from these two verses you would be conversant with reality? Naturally, the mind is always looking for newer avenues of knowledge. Tell us something new. Tell us something exciting, something we've never heard. Otherwise, I heard that before. There's a need for intellectual stimulation. We are dopamine heads. So even with the spiritual subject matter, it can be that, oh, he's the absolute truth. Okay, we've heard that before. Yeah. He's the purest, Pavitram, yes. It's pure. What else, Maharaj? What else is going on? So not only the devotee is benefited by this spirit of deep, submissive reception, but our education process is that not only are we hearing, but then we have to contemplate what we have heard. We have to meditate on it. These are grave words in the Bhagavad Gita because they are addressing a grave subject. Actually, our lives in this material world are precarious. Padam padam yad vipadam natesham. There's danger at every step. And that danger is not only to our physical lives, but the greatest danger is to our spiritual growth. That if we become jaded about the wisdoms that Lord Krishna and Arjuna are sharing with us, then we miss the opportunity to enter deeply into the reality of that truth. So now Arjuna is giving the testimony. Who is this individual that I've been interacting with? And if he is the absolute truth, we're interested in so many relative truths. Even in our educations, different fields are there, but all relative truth. Even our identity in this world is relative. Sometimes you are married, and then we meet you in a year or two. Oh no, actually I'm divorced now. This is the reality. You are blessed with good culture. this is not so much going on. Last week, I asked a question in the program, how many of you are married? I was trying to make an example. Generally, in the West, not many. Practically the whole room raised their hands. It was a shocker to me also. Because these are like all young people. Huh? Everyone is married. But the culture is such that there comes a certain time in your life, it's not even a big question. It's the next step of life. So, relative reality is that we cannot count on the status quo of today or tomorrow. Things are always changing. This is called Ksharabhava, the material nature. You can depend on it for it's always changing. But the reality, the absolute truth, means unchanging. One other point which is unchanging is the thirst for happiness. The feeling of insecurity in this material world, that doesn't go away unless we come, to the lotus feet of Abhay Charanaravinda. When we come under the shelter of the Supreme Lord, or the absolute truth, then we get to understand the reality of who we are, that we are transcendental to the conditions of this material world. We are identifying now with these conditions, and therefore we are feeling threatened, we're feeling insecure, unsafe. Something will be taken away from us. But Krishna already was addressing this in the second chapter. Even death is not a threat. Can you imagine that consciousness? When you are clear that there is nothing that can end my existence, then there is fearlessness. Brahma bhuta prasanatma nasochati nakangshati samasave subhuteshu madbhaktim labate param. So the testimony of Arjuna echoes to the spirit with which Srila Prabhupada was advising in the introduction, how to understand Gita. Prabhupada writes nicely that if you want to understand the text, first you have to take for granted that Krishna is actually the absolute truth, the Supreme Person, God. That removes that heart plug. There's an ear in the heart, and it's plugged with all sorts of if it's not anatas, ahankara, misconception, false knowledge. When we remove that by accepting, okay, suspend disbelief. Maybe he's God. And then when he actually speaks, because he is the Supreme, then we receive that information as it is. Now Arjuna is clear. Now I accept. And Arjuna says, not only I accept, because Prabhupada is saying here, he can be accused. We know you are Krishna's friend. So now, just out of trying to gain favor from your friend, you are calling him the Supreme. Sometimes there's rubber stamping. Yeah. We say you are the most handsome man in the world. I've never seen such the most beautiful woman in the world, But if someone would come at that point and say, wait. Let's conduct a scientific study to check, are you really the most handsome man? Are you the most beautiful woman in the world? So now that spoils, that is said out of sentiment, affection, love. It is not necessarily, you could say, the truth. It's in relation to how I feel about you. So why wouldn't Arjuna also speak something in relation to how he feels about Krishna? Just to flatter his friend. You are Bhagavan. In this world, people accept. You have many people saying, oh, you're so great, you're so wonderful. You start to think, hey, how come I didn't know this about myself? Hey, I've been depriving myself of good realization. I'm actually amazing. You inflate your head and you put yourself in danger. So that accusation may be leveled on Arjuna. Why are you flattering your friend Krishna? So Arjuna is doubling up. It's not just my realization. I'm not just saying this, but this is accepted by. Now you have to quote serious persons. You don't quote your friends from badminton or table tennis. You have to quote serious persons. Narada, Asita, Devala. Now these are like universal, self-realized, empowered beings. Vyasadeva is the literary incarnation of Krishna. He knows this truth. So here we can see how the Supreme Lord and his devotee, who are working under Daivi Prakriti, they are working under the spiritual energy, are dialoguing and are preparing a manual, a guidebook for us where even our doubts have not been expressed yet, but are being catered to. Then, okay, you doubt Arjuna. He's some violent warrior. He agreed when his friend said you should butcher your friends, even your guru, don't worry. Then we will think, okay, is Adhikam, we are unsure, Kshatriya. So we want to hear sadhus, we want to hear sannyasis, paramahansas. There Arjuna is citing the version. Therefore, Prabhupada establishing evam parampara praptam imam rajasayo vidu sakaleneha mahata yogo nasta parantapa. Knowledge, especially of this caliber, transcendental knowledge, must be received in disciplic succession. And that was Krishna's aim in speaking to Arjuna, to re-establish the broken chain of parampara. How relevant is this topic of parampara? You all know we've been consuming some infighting in the name of serving the Acharya. And Prabhupada said it very nicely. The sons, they want to massage the father. But each one wants to gain the favor of the father, and so they are competing, and therefore they are giving so much trouble to the father in the name of pleasing the father. But to please the father, we have to understand the will and desire of the father. Who is the Supreme Father? Lord Shri Krishna. And he is saying that this knowledge must be received in disciplic succession. Disciplic succession doesn't work in that way that if I desire to be Baladev Vijayapusana's disciple, somehow or the other, I can just become a disciple of Baladev Vidyabhusana. Yes, I can follow him by hearing his words, but I cannot become initiated by him. Krishna is initiating Arjuna and making him a very important link in the chain. And the knowledge has been coming over the years. And so, to receive the knowledge according to the science, that's when the fruit of the knowledge comes. Of course, Krishna being the Supreme Lord, he facilitates the desires of the living beings. Oh, you want to do something, but you want to do it your way. Okay, you can do it your way. Like I can join the university and go there every day. Sometimes I can get into the classes. University, they hardly are checking the register. Just come and give the lecture. But if I do not sign up, Even if I write the tests, when they are marked, then I will not be part of that system. I cannot be given the qualification because I'm not part of that university. So time can be spent attending, hearing, but it becomes unbonified education. So we have to follow as is received in the disciplic succession. And here Arjuna is the representative that Krishna has put before us in how to understand the message. So this is plenty homework, lifetime homework to meditate on these points. How the Lord is Param Brahma. And the Mayavadis, they say, and they like very much, Aham Brahmasmi. And so such a verse is like, oh, okay, talking about Brahma. We are that. But here, Arjuna is saying Param Brahma. He's not saying just Aham Brahmasmi. And that aphorism is not Aham Param Brahmasmi. It's that we are Brahman. Yes, we are spiritual. But within that Brahman, there's variety. Some Brahman is called marginal. They can be influenced by material energy or spiritual energy. Param Brahma is supreme, above, cannot be controlled by his own energy. So the science of Krishna consciousness is exact. And therefore we should hear it as it is. That's the glory of Srila Prabhupada. And Arjuna is first-hand account. He heard directly from the lips of Krishna. And so his realization is what all the generations of devotees must align with. And here is his testimony. And it is backed up by the big saints. Today is philosophy one way, so no big stories. Devotees love stories. Here, simply tattva. And that is the foundation, and that foundation must be deep. If the building will stand strong, it has to have a very deep foundation. Although the foundation may seem like they're wasting time. You've seen many times there's a place, it's fenced off, and for a few months you can just hear thumping and you can see caterpillars, but where's the building? But if the child, they don't understand, why have they been wasting time? We don't see the building. But they are spending time digging in the opposite direction, it seems. But they are actually the most important part of this big building that will come up. They have to make the foundation very strong, so that earthquake and winds and whatever comes, the building stays strong. So this is our movement. It gives the devotees the truth about the Supreme Lord, and therefore they can navigate the world not feeling insecure. We know who Krishna is, we know his position, and we know how Krishna thinks of everyone, so we can fit everyone in. There's no need to feel insecure about our faith. And today is one of those verses where when we hear closely, then we can meditate on this, then we can remember. And this remembrance of Smaranam nourishes our bhakti. When the chanting is a little difficult, if you stop to think, who is Krishna actually that I'm addressing? Then you can think, this is the supreme absolute truth. He's the supreme destination, the abode, the shelter of everyone. Then at least some respect comes up, you know. You can put some respect on Krishna's name. And you can approach God. Because sometimes Krishna, you know, it's like our friend. He's non-threatening. I mean, look at him. He's being dressed by his mother. Sometimes he's hungry and he's impatient. Even his friends, they trick him, all-knowing. Close your eyes, Krishna, I'll give you a sweet. He closes his eyes. And they throw a flower in there. Someone, all-knowing, absolute truth. How can he be fooled by his friends? They lie to him, he doesn't understand. So the sweetness of Krishna covers the grandeur of Krishna. Then sometimes we lose track that we are hearing from God Almighty. So here Arjuna is establishing who God Almighty is. And we are Anu, he is Vibhu. We are small, he is big. So we have to submit to this Supreme Personality of Godhead. And by the submission of the heart in devotion, then Krishna reveals himself to the devotee more and more. In fact, he gives himself to the devotee. Therefore, no worries for the devotee, because Krishna will take care. How can you say he'll take care? Is he your servant? Now, sometimes you have genuine worry, and the devotee just comes, Prabhuji, don't worry. You're not the doer. Krishna is in control. And you feel like, how can you be so sure? In his own way, Krishna, being all-knowing, takes care of each and every devotee. His timelines are definitely not our timelines. That's where we have a problem, because we need now the changes. You have all power, you can adjust. Why? I'm doing my part, taking the tapasya. But when we know Suridam Sarvabhutanam, he's our dearmost friend, he's on our side, we have to trust him. Trust him through it all. That he's our well-wisher, and whatever it is that is before us, it is part of his care program for us. It is part of his unique, loving relationship with us as individuals. He is not aloof. He's very near. He knows exactly and beyond what we even understand of our situation, our emotions, our predicaments. So in that trusting relationship, that submissive relationship, then love flourishes. Then we can come to the point of whether he hugs me or crushes me, he's completely free to do anything and everything. Can you imagine that position? Krishna, I'm yours. Whatever it is you want to do with me, you can do it. It's even scary sometimes to utter it, right? I'll end with Bhakti Maharaj's prayer that he was asking devotees to make in Mayapur. And not that we are asking you to make it, but we are trying to show that even though we may feel we are lovers of Krishna, we're devotees of Krishna, we really accept this philosophy, the head and the heart are two different spaces. Maharaj was saying that we need to elevate this movement. We need to take it up a notch. And that means that devotees need to commit to a higher level. And he suggested that that higher level would be if we can make this prayer. Panchatattva had just been installed. Grand, biggest deities in the Hare Krishna movement. Most magnanimous lords. He said, if we are willing to see more miracles, we are willing to enter a deeper dimension of Krishna consciousness, now that the Lord, who is most magnanimous, has appeared in such a grand way, we can also offer ourselves that, my dear Lord, whatever it takes for you to accelerate my surrender to you and my return into your unalloyed service, you let that happen. If it means you take away my health, my wealth, my friends, a small list, then you can understand the prayer, right? This is not lightweight. This is heavyweight, another level of sincerity. One devotee commented later, Maharaj, he had his bout with cancer. Installation is 04. Bhakti Maharaj left us 05. And the devotee was saying, yes, it seems that Krishna reciprocated with Maharaj's prayer. So we can learn that trust in Krishna, and that trust where Krishna reciprocates completely, is for those who have a deeper quality of love and affection and surrender. That's why Krishna says his special mercy is also not just easy for all of us to take, because Krishna's special mercy is that he takes away all our material shelters and leaves only him to depend on. So this is our aspiration, and we should keep that in mind, the supreme refuge. He will take care of us, as he has already been. So be rest assured of Krishna's love, of Krishna's protection, and we make tangible steps day in, day out, move closer to Krishna. And his embrace is very fluffy, very warm. Yes. Then this material world will not become a place which gives us all this fear. It becomes simply paraphernalia for serving our Krishna. We'll grab everything, just as you have engaged Singapore. I feel it has transformed. And we thank you for your kind attention, your service here, and apologize again for the delay in arrival. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Gaura Premanande. Hare Krishna. How was it with the time? Oh, over. It's supposed to be 7. Yes. Prabhu says if there's some complaint especially, please. Sorry. Okay, I'll do something and then I can share. You have something. Yeah, let him sing.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you so much for the class. Maharaj, I have one question because in the purport track, the verse that we read, it is stated that we should accept the statement in these few verses, and this is called the Parambara system, and also says that acceptance of the disciplic succession, unless one in the disciplic succession, he cannot understand Bhagavad Gita. It is not possible by so-called academic education. Maharaj, how to interpret this? Because most of the time, the people I encounter, they will say that they will, memorize the slokas, 700 slokas. They will, they remember everything, and but they don't have like what is the actual purport and what is the reality sense of it. So in this, how to interpret this correctly, that by taking the shelter and then reading, or by reading and then taking shelter, how to put it for those intellectually intelligent people, so-called in this world that we encounter. Thank you.
Thank you much. Hare Krishna. There's a symbiotic relationship between Gyan and also Bhakti. However, one is an assistant of the other. Knowledge can expand our understanding of reality, and knowledge is more glorified as it approaches devotion. So, academic education has its value. When it comes to Bhagavad Gita, one can learn the verses and, as you're saying, recite them. But to enter into the spirit of the knowledge takes another faculty. It's not necessarily an intellectual exercise. The Prabhupada would say it's not armchair philosophy. So as we get knowledge, that knowledge is meant to purify us of tamagun. And that knowledge then brings us into more devotion. And as we are becoming more devoted to the Lord, there's also more knowledge. The knowledge of devotion is exemplified in the activity of the devotees. That when they are really educated, like the gopis of Vrindavan, they are not seen to have studied in some big gurukuls and reciting śāstra, but their very existence is dedicated to Krishna's pleasure. And therefore they are the highest intellectuals. Mahaprabhu is honoring, there is no method of devotion superior to the Vrajavadus. So we encourage people to hear, but then we have to engage them in some service. When we engage in the service, there's a purification. Then instead of it becoming intellectual, it actually, the realization becomes spiritual. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he preached to many intellectual giants. And he had one intelligent personality come to see him. He had all these questions for him. I heard he's a scholar. I want to see if he can answer my questions. And when he got there, the servant said, Swamiji is still a little bit engaged, but you can help us out. He gave him some seva to brush the arti tray to shine it. By the time Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati came to see him, he was asked, what are his questions? And, almost embarrassed that you will not believe. I had so many questions, but they've all become answered. Yes, so the real sign of the knowledge is divya gyan. It will be given in the heart by realization. Then we will act in the spirit of service. But definitely people who are interested in knowledge, our books can match that interest. There's enough for them to read, so we have to give them the knowledge. And then their intelligence will be purified, sharpened by contact with transcendental knowledge.